What's up guys, Pjr Pullover, ATHLEAN-X.com. Today I continue our popular 22-day series, and this one, guys, the big promise is this. I'm going to help you to build bigger arms, guaranteed. By the time these 22 days are over, your biceps and triceps size are going to be much more significant than they are right now, and those t-shirts of yours are going to be a lot more filled up than they are right now. So what I want to do is make sure that first of all, you don't have to squeeze this to make it happen. And secondly, you really don't have to wear a small shirt.
It's not a small, it's a medium. Get it right.
Okay, whatever size t-shirt you're wearing right now, I promise by the time it's over, the same shirt you're wearing today is going to be a lot more filled up in 22 days from now. Let's start breaking it down day by day. All right, so in order to make these noticeable arm gains, you're going to have to do some work with me, okay? But I promise you, as always, we're going to map it out day by day, step by step. And it actually starts with this calendar here. And the very first day, guess what? You don't even have to do any work. You simply take out a tape measure and you measure the size of your arms, measuring it at the highest peak of your biceps and towards the middle of your triceps. And that's going to give you your arm measurement that we're going to do again on day 22. It's what happens on all those days in between where the magic actually happens. And that's where we're going to fit 3 workouts in per week for your biceps or related muscles like the brachialis that I'll get to in a second, and 3 for the triceps. So you can see that we're going to alternate them: biceps, triceps, biceps, triceps, and biceps, triceps. You then get a day off, and of course we come back and we repeat that schedule for week 2. And then to wrap it up, we get one more day off, and we repeat that schedule one more time until that final day of measurement. So the first question you might be asking yourself is, well, how does this fit with everything else I do? Well, that's the point, guys. I'm actually making it so it will fit whatever you're doing right now. Let's say you're not doing anything at all, but your main goal is to increase the size of your arms. You're just going to follow this plan exactly as it's laid out day by day with nothing else to change. If you are doing some other workout at the moment, whether it be total body, push-pull legs, or even a bro split, you're going to want to remove whatever components are dedicated right now to biceps and triceps specifically. Now, that doesn't mean to take out exercises that use your biceps like pull-ups or underhand rows, or that use your triceps like bench press or an overhead press. The fact is, you're going to continue to do your workout as planned, and you're going to do this portion of it at the very end of whatever training you're doing. There's not a lot to do each day, but there is something you're going to have to do each and every day. So again, after measuring day is complete, we come back with day 2, which is dedicated to biceps. And actually related to what happens on day 3, we're trying to create a good mind-muscle connection with these first 2 workouts. Meaning, if I can get you to feel what a good complete contraction is supposed to feel like, you're going to be able to start to build upon that in the other workouts of the week. So we start with biceps on day 2, and the exercise of choice, because there's only going to be one, is this one here. Is called the Incline waiter curl. The waiter curl is going to limit the arc of the dumbbell. In other words, we're not swinging the dumbbell way out in front of our body, which can invite the shoulder to do some of the work. No, we're bringing the dumbbell straight up, keeping the top of the dumbbell flat and parallel to the surface of the ceiling. And you can see that the peak contraction on the biceps and the tension that we normally feel in the mid-range is being applied at the top of every single repetition here. Now, 7 days from now, you're going to come back and do the same exercise again. And the way we're going to intensify this and create a better contraction is to create some additional contractions by adding some pulses at the end. So on day 9, you're going to do the same exercise for 4 sets of 9, but on every single repetition, you're adding 3 pulses in that contracted state. And we come back one final time in the 3rd week here on day 16 to do the final pulse, but this time we're adding 6 to every repetition and not just 3. Now on day 3, when our focus is only on triceps and actually giving that biceps of yours a rest, we're going to come back with the bench dip. And once again, we can actually get a good complete contraction of the triceps on this exercise because our arms are back behind our body with the elbows in full extension. So we're hitting both the long head and of course the medial and lateral heads of the triceps all together to make sure we get that good complete contraction. And once again, we're performing 4 sets, each one of these to failure. Obviously, it's going to vary from person to person. You go until you cannot do any more reps in good form. A couple things to take note of here. Look at the positioning of your hands on the bench. I've talked about it before. You don't want your hands facing forward, which could create a little bit of internal rotation at the shoulder, which wouldn't be a good thing to accrue over the course of the next 21 days. Instead, we just open our hands up on the bench, put our shoulders in a safer position, and we can bench dip away as we please. How do we increase this, though, from here through the next 2 weeks? Well, just like we did with the biceps, the next time we encounter this is going to be on day 10, a week from now. And when we do this, we're going to add some additional pulses in that contracted state to further enhance that mind-muscle connection in that fully contracted state. And then finally, on day 17, when we encounter this exercise for the 3rd and final time, it's not 3 pulse contractions, but you guessed it, 6 pulse contractions with every completed rep. Guys, it may look like a small movement, but I promise you, when done consistently and done well, they deliver big results. Which brings us back to week 1 in the second grouping of exercises, that second biceps and triceps combo. And these are actually selected to help with widening out your arm when looked at from the front. And namely, when we're looking at the biceps, it's not necessarily the biceps that we want to focus on, but something related to it, or at least right underneath it, and it's the brachialis. So the exercise of choice here is going to be the alternating cross-body hammer curl. And this exercise is great for hitting that brachialis and minimizing maybe a little bit of that bicep targeting, because we get into this pronated position and we come up and across our body, keeping that dumbbell close to the body. And what this does is it minimizes some of the bicep contribution by taking away some of the supination and puts it more on the main elbow flexor, which is the brachialis. If you're not working this enough, I can guarantee you it's one of the reasons why your arms are not filling the shirt sleeves right now. We do 4 sets of 12, a little bit higher on the repetitions here, but again, we want to make sure we take this to full fatigue and failure in good form, of course. When we come back in subsequent weeks here, the exercise stays the same. It's still going to be the alternating cross-body hammer curl, but the next time in week 2, it's actually going to be done with 5 additional pounds. So now I still want those 4 sets of 12 repetitions. You might be thinking, how am I going to get to 12 this time if I was barely able to get to 12 last time? Well, you're going to have to grind it out. We do these in rest-pause fashion, meaning you go for as many as you can. If you have to stop and rest for 10 seconds or 15 seconds, you do until you grind out that 12th repetition on each arm. And then we come back one final time in week 3 with the same exercise, this time using 5 more pounds. In other words, 10 additional pounds from the first time you did the exercise in week 1. And yes, it's going to be a grinder once again, but you do the rest-pause fashion until all repetitions are complete. So now for triceps, the way we work on that width is to work on that really little head of the triceps. It's the medial head, the one that doesn't really get that much attention. But we know the best way to get to this is to fully lock out the elbows. And it's one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to tricep training. People always like to cut short that final inch because they don't really think it matters that much. No, it does. It just happens to be maybe the hardest part of the exercise, and that's why people tend to skip it. So what I want you to do is make sure you lock out. And I'm going to give you 2 choices to do this. If you're in a gym and you have access to a tricep pushdown machine, then I would like you to do this. It's the tricep pushdown, but done a little bit differently. You see, I put the bar a little bit further out in my fingers, and then I simply let my wrist bend back casually. In other words, I let them get into a little bit more extension. And what that does is it takes the forearms out of the movement, and it lets the elbow extension be the main driver. And if I do this, I can actually get into that full lockout position. Now, I'm not jamming myself in this position. I'm just getting to full extension under control, which is going to really recruit the medial head. If I were to select that one and come back, again, the next time I'm going to add 5 pounds to the exercise, and again, work in rest pause fashion until I get all 12 reps. And once again, in week 3, if this was the exercise I chose, I'm going to have the same goal, this time 10 pounds from when I first started in week 1, and the same goal, rest pause until I get all 12 reps. Now, you do have an option here. You don't have to do the pushdown. If you're training at home and you have just some dumbbells here, I'm going to give you this instead. And this is the thumbs up dumbbell bench press. Not only are you keeping the elbows nice and tight to target the triceps, but as you push the dumbbells up, you're following them with your thumbs. By pushing your thumbs forward and towards the ceiling more, you're encouraging full elbow extension. And by doing that, again, you're getting that full lockout and stability of the elbow that's going to do a great job of recruiting the medial head. Once again, if this is the exercise you choose, the next time around in week 2, when you do this exercise, you're adding 5 pounds, and one more time in week 3, you're adding those 10 pounds each and every time using rest pause to ensure that you get all repetitions completed. And that brings us back to week 1 for that final pairing of biceps and triceps, one more time with a different focus. Here we want to focus on eccentric overload. We know that that is one of the main drivers of hypertrophy if done correctly. And one of the first things you want to make sure that you're going to do if you're going to do it correctly is provide some more recovery time, because this is the type of training that can leave your muscles sore. So we're doing it leading up to the 1 rest day that we get per week. So on bicep day, the exercise of choice is going to be the cheek curl. This is a great way to create eccentric overload. We allow ourselves a little bit of momentum, not too much. You don't see me going all the way back through vertical here. I just simply lean until I get to vertical, and then I lock that position in, and then I focus on what's really happening on the way down. Slow the weight on the way back down. Probably the most significant thing I've ever done for building my biceps was to do this from an early age. Well, you're going to start doing it now over the course of the next 22 days. So you drop that weight down very slow to a count of 3. You cheat it back up to the top. You drop it down to the count of 3. You perform this for a set of 8 to failure. And again, we're talking about eccentric failure where you really can't even control the weight anymore. So now where do we go from here? When we come back for this on day 13, now the goal is to simply increase the length of the eccentric, 4 seconds per rep. Do as many as you can under a 4-second controlled lowering of the weight, and then you go to day 20. It's our last chance, guys. I'm expecting more out of you. And again, we got to squeeze those last gains out before our measuring day on day 22. So now we have a 5-second eccentric on every repetition to start. And then we drop down to the 4-second eccentrics for as many as we can, and then the 3-second eccentrics for as many as we can. And once we can't control it for at least 3 seconds, your set is over. And that brings us to the final day of week 1, which gets repeated across weeks 2 and 3, and the focus once again being triceps, and here again, eccentric overload. And we have something called the Pjr Pullover. So you get in this position similar to what you see in a dumbbell pullover, and you have the dumbbell starting at the top. And you lower it down slowly to get the eccentric overload on the triceps. Now this could be a very heavy weight, especially if it's in that 8 to 10 range. So to get it back up to the top, I'm permitting you to actually use some lats. Pull with your lats and pull the dumbbell back to the top. The concentric isn't as important here as what's happening on the eccentric lowering. So you get yourself to the top by using some other muscles, but then you shift the focus once again back to the triceps, particularly the triceps long head, as you lower the dumbbell down slowly. You start off with 3 seconds on each eccentric in week 1. You increase to 4 seconds as we get to week 2, and then we raise it one final time on day 21 to the 5-second eccentric, down to 4 seconds, down to 3 seconds, until you can't control it anymore. And if you look at what we actually did here, guys, instead of taking what maybe was your current weekly workload of, let's say, even 12 sets for biceps and triceps, we've divided it more frequently over the course of 3 different training sessions separated by 48 hours apiece, which research will show has an ability to increase muscle synthesis and stimulus, especially for those stubborn muscle groups. And so as always, guys, with our 22-day series, here are the screenshots so you can take them and make sure you know exactly what to do on each and every day of the 22 days to ensure that you see the gains that I know you can see. And of course, I didn't forget about day 22. See, that's where we break out that measuring tape once again, wrap it around the arm, and then see objectively exactly how well you did. Guys, I wouldn't be surprised if you made even an inch of size gains, and that is some...
I don't think it worked.
Arm gains, arm size gains.
Oh.
Arm size gains.
Well, can you make a workout for that? I mean, it'll get like 10 million views.
Will you get the fuck out of here, please?
All right.
You're stepping on my outro. Guys, you can do this. Follow the plan step by step. And also, make sure you leave your comments below. What type of gains did you make? What type of arm gains did you make? Leave them in the comments below. And also, challenge somebody else and see how you guys do head to head. If you're looking for programs that take you through the same thing step by step, including meal plans, so you never miss a step along the way, they're all available over at ATHLEAN-X.com. In the meantime, if you found the video helpful, leave your comments and thumbs up below. And also, make sure you click subscribe and turn your notifications so you never miss a new video when we put one out. All right, guys, good luck.